Hi everyone! It is so good to see you here. My name is Renee, and I pray that we might grow in our faith together. In this video, I'm finally going to show you all of the books that I hope to be able to read within the first half of 2025. And the reason why I decided to set my goal for the first half of 2025 is because I am going to Korea in the second half of 2025, and I will be going there and staying there for a year. And so all of the books that I am showing you in this video are books that I had on my bookshelf for a while, and they're all physical books, and so I am trying to read as much physical books as I can, because that way I don't have to take a lot of physical books with me when I'm going to South Korea. And the only physical book that I'm going to take with me, or at least that I'm planning to take with me, is of course my Bible, so I can study the Bible more when I'm in Korea. And besides that, I'm just going to use my e-reader when I'm there. But for now, let's show you all of the books that I hope to read. I don't think I will be able to read them all. That would be crazy. And I'm not a fast reader by any means, so I don't think it's possible, but every book that I manage to read is just a nice bonus. And I can always decide to read them when I get back from Korea, so I won't pressure myself or anything. Like in the video where I show you all of the books that I read in 2024, I read both English books and Dutch books, since my native language is Dutch. So if there's an English version available, or an English translation available, I will let you know. If there's not, I will also let you know. So, but without further ado, let's just get into it. Since I'm filming this video pretty late and we're already almost in March of this year, I did manage to read some books. I think I read 5 in total, so I'm pretty proud of myself for reading already 5 books. But let me show you the books that I managed to finish in the first 2 months of the year. The first book that I managed to finish is The Biggest Story Bible Storybook by Kevin DeYoung, and it's illustrated by Dawn Clark. And if you've seen all of my videos, you'll know that this particular Bible, it's like a children's Bible, was on my wish list for a while. And in that video, I specifically said I don't need another Bible because I'm going away for a year and I won't have the time to read it. And then Black Friday rolled around and it was on sale, and I couldn't contain myself and I bought it, and I have no regrets. I started reading this in the end of last year and I finished it in January, and it's just, even though it's a book for children, it's a children's Bible, it's just the way it's written, it's really informative, really funny, really easy to read, and just the artwork in this Bible is just so amazing and just so detailed and so colorful. And I love looking at the different illustrations in here. It's just so pretty, and I will definitely read it again when I get the chance. Of course, after finishing reading all the other books. But I will definitely come back to this one because it's just so pretty and I really treasure it a lot. And yeah, there's humor in it, childlike humor, which I really appreciate. is really easy to read. And another thing that I really like is, for instance, like at the end of every chapter, there's a small prayer that you can use, like to pray and finish the chapter with. And it's just, I love this Bible very much, and I'm happy that I read it. Then the next book that I finished is called Vastberaden by Simon Visser. There's not an English version available, unfortunately, because I do really recommend reading this book. It was very informative, very interesting, very inspiring. The author of this specific book works at an organization called Open Doors. And what Open Doors does is they help the underground churches like all over the world. And it talks about how Simon, the author, like walking marathons for as a hobby. And one day he decided to walk the marathons for the glory of God, and he stopped working at his job and he started working at Open Doors. And ever since that moment, he will like raise money for the underground churches all over the world, and he will run marathons in like the places, like in the specific countries where there's the underground church. And it's just, he also talks about the people and the stories that he's heard from people that were inside of the underground church, and how it's affected him, and how he can like relate to those people, and how he feels like, wow, they're also just people. Like, it sounds so far from where we live, and so we're not paying attention to them as much. And it's really opened his eyes. And he's just talking about the things he's experienced since he has started working at Open Doors. And it's just really interesting and really inspiring, and it really opened my eyes to all of our brothers and sisters in Christ on the other side of the world, who aren't as lucky to share their faith with others so easily as like we're used to. So it was a very inspiring read, and I recommend it. Then the other two books that I read is The Well-Watered Life and The Well-Watered Woman. This is the journal version, The Well-Watered Life by Gretchen Saffels. And then there's also a book that you can read simultaneously with it called The Well-Watered Woman. And I had that book as an ebook on my e-reader, and this I decided to get the physical one so I can like really take notes in it and stuff like that. And it was just so inspiring. I really recommend this book to anyone who wants to like grow more and feel stagnant within their growth in their faith journey. And it's just, I also love, that's why I still have the bookmark in here. I really loved the poems with each chapter, and they were really inspiring. And both the book and the journal are really inspiring, really uplifting and encouraging, and I just highly recommend them. I started this one in October, and I only managed to finish it now. And that's because the journal is not a journal that you can just finish within a week. You really have to take your time, and it comes with different challenges and practices that will allow you to change your daily schedule a bit. And it's just, it challenges you to really take your faith and put it into practice. So that's why it took me so long to finish it, but I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to grow closer to Jesus. Then the fifth book that I read is God niet te geloven by Phil Bosman. This is a pretty old book, as you can see. I bought it on a book market at our church, and this book is from 1988. it's not available in English, unfortunately. And it was, well, I don't think funny is the right word to describe it, but it was kind of funny to read, because you could really see that it was such an old book. Like the words that they used were very old. It was very old Dutch, like not too old, but you could really see like the spelling and stuff being different, and it was very eye-opening. It talks about how we as a society aren't used to believing God anymore, and how we've become so secular. And it was just so eye-opening for me and so bizarre for me to read that this was a problem in the 80s, and how relevant it is still today. And it also talks about some questions that we might have about believing in God. And it was a very eye-opening book, and it was very easy to read. It like had this format like you were reading a poem, which is, I had to get used to it in the beginning, but it was very nice to read, because of that. And I finished this book like pretty fast, because it was just so inspiring to me. So I really enjoyed reading this. Then I have this book, and as you can see, I'm currently reading this book. I'm not very far, as you can see. This book is the Bible Study Handbook, by Lindsay Olsberg. And this book talks about how to study the Bible. And as you can see, you have like some figures in here as well. And it also talks about common convictions and common, like, I would say, mistakes that we used to do when we're studying the Bible. And so far, it's been very informative and very inspiring, and I can't wait to read more about this, like in this book, because I think it might be useful for me in my personal Bible study as well. Then the second book that I'm currently reading is Een leven dat zin heeft by Nicky Gumbel. If you're familiar with the Alpha studies, you're familiar with Nicky Gumbel, like the name Nicky Gumbel. Oh, I'm sorry. That was our dog. He was coughing. It has an English translation available called A Life Worth Living. This is a pretty old version of the book. It's from 1996, so a year after I was born. But so far, it's been very inspiring. It goes through the letter to the Philippians. So it goes through Philippians and talks about how Paul lived his life with a purpose, and how he could like experience joy within his troubles. And so far it's very inspiring, and I can't wait to finish this. Then another book by Nicky Gumbel that also has an English translation called Challenging Lifestyle is this one. In Dutch it's called De Uitdaging. And this is also, as you can see, like an alpha book. And I don't really know what it's about. Okay. As you can see here in the index, but you can only read it if you're Dutch, of course. But it talks about some tips and tricks of faith, like how to avoid sin, how to give, and how to share with people, how to fast, how to pray, how to deal with money, and how to discern, and stuff like that. So I think that this might be a very practical book. Yeah, I think I might read this after finishing the other Nicky Gumbel book. But yeah. Then I have these two chosen interactive Bible study books. This corresponds with season 2 of The Chosen, called the Blessed Are the Chosen. And the other one is for season 3, The Way of the Chosen. And you can use these while watching The Chosen, and it goes deeper into the different characters in The Chosen, and it goes deeper into the Bible, and it's kind of like a Bible study. I did the first one because I have like 3 of these. I did the first one last year, so I'm happy to do these in this year. And I mean, there's always a good excuse to watch The Chosen again, even though I've watched it already for a few times. But yeah, and I'm excited for season 5, so why not rewatch the other seasons again? Then another Bible study book is Leef in het Licht by Judith van Olst ten Brinke and Hanneke Schaapjonker. As you might have guessed, it's a Dutch book. Unfortunately, it's not available in English, and this study is specifically about how to be the light of the world, and how we're called by Jesus to be the light of the world. And it goes into the word light as kind of a theme throughout the Bible. So I'm very interested to learn more about that specific theme. And yeah, I'm excited to start with this Bible study. Then this is a book that I started reading in, as you can see. There you go. I started reading in this book last year, and then I kind of dropped it because I lost interest in it, but I do want to try and pick it up again and reread the first pages that I did this year. And this book is called Een levensregel voor beginners, and this has a English translation, and it's called The Rule of Benedict for Beginners. It's made by Wil Derksen, and I got this book as a gift when I stayed for a weekend in the monastery. So it talks about the Benedict rules within the monastery. So I do think it's a kind of an interesting book. But another thing is, it's a very tough read, is what I've experienced so far. So you do really need to take your time. And in the beginning of the book, it says it's not a book that you can just start in a day and finish it in a day. The purpose is to really take in the information. So that's what I will do. Then a book that I got as a gift for my birthday is this one called Desire, de Koning en de Erfgenaam. And it's by Bart van Nes. This doesn't have an English version, but this book is also kind of a Bible study. And this talks about all of the, what do you call those in English? Oh, I don't remember. Parables. That's the word I was looking for. It's so hard to switch between two different languages, but sorry. It talks about all the parables that are written in the Gospels. So I think it might be very informational, very, very cool to read. I already studied some of the parables in my Bible, but I can always learn from other books as well and see their point of view. So I'm excited to read this one. Then another book about the monastery. It's called Christen zijn vandaag by Minke de Vries. I don't think it has... No, it doesn't have an English version. I needed to check my notes for that, but it doesn't have an English version. I think it's it's a translation from Italian, I think, which seems logical because the monastery and the rules of Benedict are from Italy, if I'm not mistaken. So and because I already had the other book talking about monastery, I was very interested and very intrigued when I saw this one at the book market. This talks about the different services within the monastery, and I said earlier, I went to a monastery last year for a weekend, and I stayed there for a weekend, like staying with the nuns and learning from them. And this year I will do the same. I will go there. I will go back there in May of this year. So I think that this might be very practical for me to read and to just learn more about their way of living. And so yeah, then this one is called De Persoonlijke God by Peter Henk Steenhuis. This talks about conversations on the border of faith and like philosophy. Is that how you call it? You get what I mean. But I think this might be a tougher read to like a book that you really need to concentrate to read, to really get in all the information. You can see that there are different people that take turns and shared their own opinions and insights. So that's really interesting and intriguing. But yeah, we'll see if I will get to this book. But when I picked it up, I found it very intriguing. So I will definitely someday I will read this one. We're almost there. This is the second to last book that I would like to read. This is the Handboek voor het Hiernamaals. It's by Guido Derksen and Martin van Maus. And as you can see, it talks about heaven and hell. And what really intrigued me about this particular book is, even though it's like pretty big, it's like the size is pretty big. And as you can see, it's secondhand. I have a lot of secondhand books. But it talks about how the heaven and hell are portrayed within the media. And that's right up my alley because it talks about, of course, faith. And it talks about the media, which is something that I'm interested in since I studied communication. So it felt really intriguing for me to read. It might be a hard read again, but I think there's a lot of information in here, and it's just really cool to know more about heaven and hell and how it's portrayed, not only within the Bible but also within the media. So yeah. And then the last book that I will be attempting to read is called God bewijzen, and it's written by Stefan Paas and Rick Peels. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an English translation. I don't know if I told you with the last one, but the other one about heaven and hell also doesn't have an English translation. Sorry, I've got to tell you that, I think. They do have some English books, but unfortunately this one doesn't have an English translation. This book talks about arguments for and against believing and against God existing. I've had this on my bookshelves for a while and I never got to it. Like the size, I don't really read a lot of thick books, so whenever, and this is not like a very thick book, but for me it is. So the size got me scared to start in it, but yeah, I do really want to give this one a try. On Goodreads, the score wasn't the best, and it says that there was a lot of like, they were kind of repeating themselves a lot, so I'm not sure if it's as interesting as I think it might be, but I will definitely give this one a try. I'm curious to see like what this book can teach me. When they're all in frame like this, it really looks like a lot. If I counted them correctly, I have 17 books to read this first half of the year, and I already read 5. Bless you. My dog just sneezed. But I already read 5 and I am currently working on 2, so I think I might be behind schedule a little bit, but I'll just see how far I will come with this. And Hopefully I inspired you to read some more and to try different books. And I hope to make a video about like the books that I read so far. Hopefully I will manage to film that video before I leave Korea and I don't have my books anywhere. So yeah, and I will let you know my ratings and stuff like that. If you want to follow me on Goodreads or like become a friend on Goodreads, there's a link down in the description, and let's just share books and inspire each other basically. And anyways, that's all I have for this video. I pray you have a blessed week, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!